The following is a presentation from PokerStars.com. Previously on the Big Game, Hall of Famer Doyle Brunson 3-bet with the Brunson.
I have a pretty good hand. I'm not gonna play it with you.
I was hoping so.
It can't be anything good. It's got to be 10 deuce if he's re-raising.
Well, that way I can get rid of it for the day.
Now I feel like I have a mandatory 3-bet if I get 10 deuce.
Joe Hachem bluffed with fish hooks and got Phil Galfond to lay down cowboys.
What'd you have?
I had a bluff catcher.
And amateur loose cannon Bill Gibbon won a small pot with a big hand.
Is that you?
Yeah.
What happened? Where'd the rest of the pot?
It's so disappointing getting a hand like that and winning a small pot.
Yeah, I feel really bad for you. I'm just torn up inside.
Bill is treading water. Against this lineup of pros, does he have any chance at that NAPT passport? Find out tonight on the Big Game.
This is the PokerStars.com Big Game.
Hello and welcome to the Big Game from Las Vegas. Alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose, and tonight there's over $1.1 million in cash on the table as some of the best players in the world have come to battle it out in our state-of-the-art poker room.
In seat 6, Galfond has had some setbacks protecting Frodo in the ring. He's down over 21K. I'm so sorry, I thought that said Gandalf.
This is Daniel Negreanu's 7th Big Game appearance. The man who's always upbeat is down 6,700.
Chris Rose, your boy Scott Seiver is back. He started out tight, but eventually brought back some of his old shenanigans. He's up 3,100.
A man more than 3 times Seiver's age has almost triple Seiver's profits so far. Doyle Brunson's won nearly $9 grand.
And this is our loose cannon, Bill Gibbon. He's a 27-year-old amateur out of New Brunswick, Canada. Bill has been staked to 100K by him, but he's off to a slow start and has yet to show any profit. He's currently down almost 7 Barry G's.
Our final and best-dressed player is from the land down under. Oi, oi, oi! Joe Hachem standing by with Amanda Leatherman.
Joe, you're off to a pretty good start so far. What's your assessment of the table?
You know what? I think so far the lineup that we've got tonight is probably the strongest I've seen.
Really?
Yeah. And I think the reason that we haven't had a lot of big pots is no one's playing goofy. We're all playing pretty solid. Bill, he's playing pretty solid. I think he's just, wetting his feet, trying to get warm in the game,
right,
like the rest of us.
Yeah.
I think in the next couple of days, we'll probably start to warm up and we'll see some bigger pots.
All right, Joe, go get him.
Thank you.
Here are the rules for the loose cannon. Each cannon staked 100 grand to play and keeps all winnings above the initial 100,000. And the loose cannon who's won the most money at season's end earns a North American Poker Tour passport worth $50,000. That includes all expense-paid trips and entry fees to a handful of events.
But right now, our leading loose cannon is David Fishman, who set the bar at 129.6. Gibbons down, but still has plenty of time to make some moves.
I've played so many tournaments that I know based on the event where they're going to sit me and what that means to wear. Which is just, honestly, it's kind of depressing.
Yeah.
Action folds around to Phil Galfond. 5 high. Raises. The cannon on the button. 9-9.
4.
3 bets to 4,000.
Look at you, loose cannon, getting aggressive with your pairs in position.
Yeah. I'm a fan. I like him. Go get him.
Are you talking to Doyle or the
He's got
cannon?
plenty. You could just freaking fire over 100.
Doyle folds. Scott Seiver, 9 deuce. Out of here.
Had an okay hand. I would see a flop.
That's the best hand he's had yet.
A good
by the
hand.
way.
And Gibbon takes down a small pot.
I'll gamble with you sometime because I like you. So
It wasn't
You need
like aces or nothing, but it was good.
If you like me, don't gamble.
What's your 3-bet percentage in tournaments? And what's your fold to C-bet percentage?
I don't even know those, man. I use a little HUD that says pre-flop raise, and that's about it.
Well, guess what, kids? We've got a HUD here on this show, too. Right now, our loose cannon Bill is pre-flop raising 14% of the time. That's the second lowest for the table, while Daniel Negreanu has been the least aggressive player pre-flop, raising just 6% of the time. That may have something to do with the monster stack on his left, Phil Galfond, who is popping at 39% of the time. He's fearless, and his $500,000 buy-in screams to the table that he's here to mix things up.
You use a little, what do you say, little HUD?
Yeah, I just have the HUD up that tells the pre-flop raise percentage and DP.
That's his
and
hood.
Yeah.
Doyle, you got a hood?
No, I don't.
Doyle's HUD is a Post-it note with his password written on it.
Daniel raises with a pair. Galfond has a pair as well.
UTG +1 with the call.
Calls.
I could be slow playing.
Cut off.
Given calls.
You used to be such a good poker player before you got into all that.
For all the hood and piece.
Scott Seiver assessing the situation before he even looks at his cards.
Totally ruined yourself.
I ruined myself.
Seiver folds.
I'm going to do the obvious.
The obvious would be call, but you're probably going to re-raise.
Raise the pot.
That's what I'm talking about.
That's the obvious.
There's a re-raise.
Better to try to thin the field.
56 more.
56 more.
If it doesn't work, though, he'll be playing a multi-way bloated pot out of position with ace-jack. And it may not work since both these guys are deep stacked with pocket pairs. Daniel's got to be careful about calling because if Hachem's just messing around, he doesn't have very good implied odds, and he's also not closing the action.
Daniel calls.
This gives Galfond even more reason to call.
Which he does.
The loose cannon is dominated.
And folds.
Does anyone mind if I buy those cards?
Cannon made the right fold there.
Plays discards.
3 to the flop. Queen, ace, 8, top pair for Hachem.
He was the pre-flop aggressor. See if he continues.
He does, betting 13-8.
This bet's for a little more than half the pot, and there isn't really a lot to protect against on this flop. So Daniel's wondering if Hachem's range is potentially wide enough to be bluffing here, or if he does have a hand, if a raise will be able to take him off an ace. I would be very surprised to see Daniel just call for this amount with Galfond still to act behind.
Daniel folds, and so does Galfond.
Good decision, Bulls.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Thought you were going to do the obvious and re-raise after Daniel called.
Not a bad spot.
That to me was the obvious there.
I had too good a hand to do what I did.
Aussie, Aussie, Aussie.
Oi, oi, oi! That means it's time to show you the rules of the big game. Each table has exactly 150 hands. The action pre-flop is pot limit, then no limit after the flop. Blinds are 2 and 400 with a $100 ante, all of which is paid by the player on the button. And every player begins with at least 100 grand, but can reload for up to $500,000.
And that's what Galfond bought in for.
He is UTG this hand. Looking at 10 deuce, the Brunson.
Oh, how do you fold that with the Godfather at the table? You broke my heart, Fredo.
The cannon folds 2. Over to the Godfather. Folds. 6, queen suited for Seiver.
This would be part of that wide Scott Seiver button range I'm always yammering about.
Raised to 1,500. Hachem folds. Daniel. Ace 10.
Are you talking like high-tech stuff or...
High-tech stuff.
Is a normal guy like me going to be able to understand it?
I think you'll be able to understand. I think you'll understand it.
Calls.
For sure.
My friend, just for fun, I'm going to check and see what you do.
I was hoping you were going to say, like, just for fun, you're going to bet dark and see what I would do.
No, I learned my lesson. Last time I bet dark against you, I got... Did not go well for me.
Seiver with a gut shot and a flush draw. That's 3,200.
These two are a statistical dead heat at the moment.
An open-ended straight draw for Negreanu. Calls. The turn. 8 of clubs.
Daniel's still ahead with ace high.
Daniel checks.
Even with one card to come, Seiver's got a decent chance of catching up. Let's see if that means more aggression.
It does. Seiver bets 8,200. And Daniel folds.
You got it.
The semi-bluff works the second time around.
You look like you were getting frisky for those chips the last hand.
Yeah. I was thinking, I don't know if he has an ace. Yeah, maybe I could pretend I have one.
Then you had him behind you.
Yeah, he was, but I didn't think he had an ace either.
The big game is just getting going. Much more from Las Vegas coming your way after this.
Phil Galfond is one of the best poker players in the world, period. You know, he seems to really just kind of like take each hand, break it down, calm, cool, collected, almost Buddhist-like.
Phil Galfond is one of the world's absolute premier best poker players, and he is someone to be feared at the table, and hopefully I'll just be able to hold my own.
You know, I've listened to some of his strategy advice and actually ask him about some hands sometimes because he's just really knowledgeable.
I've played with him several times, and I know his reputation, and I think that if he isn't already a superstar, he will be someday.
All right, there are now officially too many Phils who are good at poker. I propose that all the Phils play a cash game together, and the biggest loser has to change his name to Mike.
Action folds around to Seiver. Queen Jack. Raises.
Certainly a raising hand in the cutoff.
Hachem folds. Daniel. Ace King. Calls. Galfond. He's in.
Here, I thought I was gonna owe you one again to get us even, but nope.
Ace King can sometimes be a re-raise in the small blind, but calling's fine too.
King tray 9. Negreanu checks top pair. Galfond checks middle pair. Seiver checks a gut shot. 7 of hearts on the turn. Daniel still best.
This card shouldn't be too much cause for concern for Daniel.
Negreanu bets 4,200.
Daniel may get some action since second pair top kicker is going to be good a fair percentage of the time, and that's what Phil's holding.
Seiver still to act behind. Galfond calls.
Seiver, on the other hand, a call from him would be pretty loose. With 2 flush draws out there, he might be drawing to only 1 of 2 black 10s.
Seiver does call.
It's a super loose call. Maybe he's looking to try to steal it on the river.
Which is the ace of diamonds, giving Daniel top 2. Galfond has 2 pair as well.
Bad card for Phil Galfond, and it should lock up a reasonable size value bet for Daniel. And while this card did complete a flush draw, no one made what could be seen as a semi-bluff at this pot except for Daniel. And for that reason, he should keep the bet reasonable, but he should certainly bet it.
Daniel fires 15-6.
Now, from Phil's perspective, Daniel just let out twice, and he did it when a bad card came for any pair out there. So if he's not bluffing, he either made his flush or he's not afraid of that ace. Galfond is beating any other 2 pair hands that Daniel could make this bet with, so I would only be surprised to see a raise. Phil is definitely capable of laying this down, though.
Nope, he calls.
I was gonna call. Guess I'll let it go now.
Seiver folds.
Ace King.
That beats me. Just barely.
Barely.
Yeah.
Ace 9.
Yeah.
Wow.
Daniel wins a pot of nearly 49 grand.
Thank you for saving me
You're welcome.
17K.
Scott Seiver claims he would have called there with Queen High. I call shenanigans.
Hey, Joe.
Yes.
It's time yet again for our favorite segment of the big game, Couch Cannon. This is where you at home get to experience what Bill Given is going through. We'll see his cards and his cards only.
I am ready, willing, and able.
Action is folded around to Joe Hachem, who's out. Daniel raises on the button.
Daniel could have any 2 cards raising the cannon's big blind in position.
Galfond calls. 9 queen for the cannon. Calls.
All right, well, I guess he's in the blind, but this is a hand that has pretty bad reverse implied odds.
The flop, tray 4. Galfond checks.
Okay, now Given should be check folding.
There's the check. Negreanu. That's 2,500. Galfond calls.
All right, he's gone through the motion of waiting for his turn to act, but he should definitely fold now.
Nope, calls.
Ooh, splash the pot.
Come on, Bill. Punish these 2.
Yeah.
Punish them, Bill.
If anyone needs punishment to this table, these guys are out of line.
8 of clubs on the turn. Galfond checks.
All right, so the cannon has decided to overcall float out of position with queen high against a calling station and a guy who bought in for $500,000.
Givens checked over to Daniel. Daniel. Bet 7,200.
Right now, I'm putting the very bottom of Negreanu's range on at least a 4, which has Given destroyed.
Galfond folds.
If the cannon was floating, he definitely cannot just call again. He should fold.
You got a 3 over there?
But if he wanted to get nuts, and if he actually did have a 3 in his hand, this is a spot where he would check raise for value. Check raise would look super strong in this spot, and Daniel, unless he actually had a 3 or maybe a big spade draw, would probably fold.
17-5 more.
There's the check raise.
Wow. It takes nerves of steel for Bill to fire at a pro for this amount with absolutely nothing.
So I guess you do have a 3, huh?
Especially one that likes to call as often as Daniel. That was a pretty decent bomb by the cannon, and Daniel's usually pretty honest in these situations. If he's asking if he's got a 3, my guess is that he's worried that the cannon does have one.
17-5.
Yes, that much more to call.
Usually when Daniel thinks about it this long, he's talking himself into a call. I wonder if Bill knows that.
And there's that call.
Gulp.
Good luck.
You too.
6 of spades on the river.
That card would complete a flush draw, and my read was that Daniel would only call our raise on the turn with a 3 or a flush draw. If he has either one, I don't think there's any way to make him fold. Remember, a loose cannon cannot reload. If Given continues the bluffing, it gets picked off, he will be decimated.
If you bet too much, I'm not going to call, so don't go crazy. Just warning you. Or, you know, helping you, I don't know. I guess. 20's good.
We'll go 28.
28?
Yeah.
There's the final barrel.
Oh, this is an interesting hand.
Will it work?
Spade didn't scare you, huh? Or maybe it helped you. I can beat that. I can beat a lot, but wait a minute, you called a raise. I might have ace 3. Ace 3. Pocket 4s. Ace 3. You wouldn't do that with a flush draw, right? Oh, would you do that with like queens or something? Oh boy, I don't see how I can throw this away. I have no idea. I know you probably. 28 is the bet. Okay.
28's the bet.
Okay, you're gonna need a really good hand to win, but I think you might just have one. My kicker beats some hands.
You have a really good hand, you'll win.
Really?
Yeah.
For sure? Well,
it's got to be a really good hand, but
yeah,
if you have it, you'll win.
Yeah, all right. I mean, I'm probably gonna give you your money anyway because I can't fold this. 28, right?
Yep.
Merry Christmas.
Daniel calls.
Sickening.
It's actually a stone cold bluff.
Oh, wow. I got the 3.
Daniel wins a pot of more than 117 grand.
I thought, he was polarized there, right? Yeah.
And Daniel, the cannon killer, cripples another one. Bill Given now down to less than 40,000.
I was this close to saying just.
I guess you cost yourself an extra 8,000 there.
That reminded me of Phil Hellman.
With what, my hand there? I could only beat a bluff.
Fat chance you was going to throw it away, though.
Exactly.
That's true.
Exactly.
I did think about it, though.
Oh, I can't believe I did that.
Pretty good play.
I can't believe it didn't work.
I thought it was going to work.
I can't believe it didn't work.
If I didn't have a 3, it would have.
The cannon earns praise but loses chips. Can Bill Given recover? Stick around and find out.
Welcome back to Las Vegas, Nevada, home of the big game. Loose cannon Bill Given just tried to pull off one of the sickest bluffs we've ever seen here on the big game.
And right now he's paying the price for it. He's now down over $62,000. Phil Galfond joins our LC in the loss column. He's down 56K.
While Daniel Negreanu sits atop the profit list, up over 69 grand, thanks mostly to his call against the cannon.
Given has happened to show some decent aggression when he's chosen to play his hands, but he got pretty unlucky in that spot for Daniel to have a hand so strong.
The LC on the button this hand. Action starts with Hachem, who folds. Daniel's out. Galfond raises with the Brunson.
This should make the Godfather as proud as the day of his daughter's wedding.
Given calls.
Getting loose.
Do you mean to bet 15?
Yeah, I don't have any 100s.
That's how you know he's from the internet.
Scott's insinuating that internet players aren't used to doing their own math, but they're also used to playing in their underwear, and Galfond managed to show up clothes somehow.
Seiver folds.
About how much do you have?
Like 33.
Before you deal, who are we rooting for, boys, in this hand?
Yeah, you're not getting much love on this.
All right, go Bill, come on.
I'm gambling now, so I'm just looking to get it all in.
I'm not sure. I'm like rooting for both of us equally.
Rooting for both equally.
Queen 6-4.
If you're rooting more for Bill, you know you could just fold right here. Just fold.
Bottom pair for Given.
Wouldn't be in the spirit of the game.
Code of ethics or a man who simply doesn't hate money?
Galfond bets 1,000.
That's not going to be it.
Given folds.
What?
Doyle, I did it.
Okay,
Doyle.
gotcha.
Took down a huge one.
That's why you got to play continue with it. You can't just hit it and let it fall off.
Props from the Godfather.
I'm sure, like, if you had a statistic for number of times people play 10 deuce on the big game when Doyle's at the table versus when Doyle isn't.
Hey, guess what? There's a stat for that. In the history of the big game without Doyle at the table, those rags are played 8.5% of the time. With Doyle present, but not including the hands Doyle played himself, that number goes up to 12.5%, which is a 47% increase. And Doyle Brunson has played the Brunson 83.3% of the times he's been dealt it, which actually seems a little low to me, because I'd play the Stapes 100% of the time if there was such a hand. Unfortunately, the Stapes is just a joker and the card with the rules on it.
Earlier tonight, Daniel won a huge hand against the loose cannon. So what was Daniel thinking? Let's learn as we go behind the poker face.
Up until this point, the loose cannon kind of showed like he knew what he was doing. You know, his bet sizing was good. He was coming in for raises and pots and seemed to have a good feel for how to play the game. So I went ahead and raised on the button with 10-3 of diamonds. I made it 1,200. And Phil Galfond, he called from the small blind. The loose cannon also called. The flop was gin for me. He came 3-3-4 with 2 spades. They both checked, and I decided I'm going to bet as I normally would and bet 2,500. Phil Galfond called, and so did the loose cannon, which surprised me a little bit. The turn card is an 8. They both checked me, and I decide to bet again. I bet 7,200, really looking for maybe Phil Galfond to try to make a move or something on me. But he folded, and all of a sudden the loose cannon check raised.
17.5 more.
Which really scared me. Right then I thought, you know, he might have pocket 8s. He might have ace-3, he could have pocket 4s, but it didn't really feel like he was bluffing to me at all. So even though I have 3 3s with a 10 kicker, the 10 doesn't play so much because I figure, you know, he's got probably an ace with his 3 if he called before the flop. If not, he's got 3-4, which makes a full house. Maybe he has 3-5. Now the river comes with 6 of spades, and I tell him, I was like, don't bet too much. If you bet too much, I'm not gonna call, so don't go crazy. Just warning you. Now, then he reaches for more and bets 28,000. So now I'm thinking, wow, now even if he was making a semi-bluff with a flush draw, he just got there. I can't beat that. I can't beat ace-3. I can only really beat 3-5 or not much else. Or maybe I thought also like he was slow playing a hand like queens and thought the queens were good and was, you know, trying to get value for it. But I really didn't think he was bluffing. Then he started doing a little bit of talking.
You have a really good hand, you'll win.
Really? I was like, wow. I kind of believed him when he said that. So I called. Yeah. Merry Christmas.
It's actually a stone cold bluff.
And he said stone cold bluff. But I was really close to throwing that hand away, even though I had 3 3s. Against any other player at the table, I call quickly.
Galfond dished ace-king on the turn, knowing Daniel could star in M. Night Shyamalan's Unbluffable.
You can ignore anything that I say and anything that Joe says, but if Phil sits over there and goes, that was a great play.
I think it was.
Yeah, he knows what he's talking about.
Phil Galfond just said it was a great play. That's all you need.
Well, that's good to hear.
That's all you need to know.
Earning that compliment cost over 50 grand.
Ace-jack for Negreanu. Raises.
Phil Galfond would not say that this is a great play, though.
He would. Phil would agree with this completely.
4.
Given re-raises.
Phil would agree with that completely.
Good luck, my man.
Get some of that money back.
Give you the rest of it.
Okay, we're not going to put in just yet, but like we'll see what a flop comes out. I'm not betting, so I'll check and see what you do.
Check it in the dark, yeah.
I'm checking in the dark. I'll let you do your thing.
10-5-10. Daniel checked in the dark.
Decent flop for 8s.
Let's see here. 65.
Given bets, still with the best hand.
Wow. Quandary.
Daniel likes calling light, but this would be pretty dang loose.
Yeah, I think I'm gonna let you bluff one time. Take it.
Daniel folds.
I wasn't bluffing.
I didn't have a pair, but I have a big ace.
I didn't have a 10, but I had a pair.
So I had outs.
That just goes to show if you'd have played the 10 tray again, you'd have been all right.
Daniel makes a good laydown, and the loose cannon inches closer to making a comeback. See if he can do it after this. Welcome back to Las Vegas in the big game. Alongside Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose. We are now officially a third of the way through our 150-hand session.
And our loose cannon, Bill Given, needs to do some more taking. God, that's bad even for me, as he's down to just over a third of his stake.
In fact, he lost quite a chunk of that on a bluff attempt against Daniel. Action will start on the cannon. 4s.
12.
Raises to 1,200. Ace-Jack for Doyle, who calls. Seiver calls. Hachem folds. Daniel's out. Galfond's in.
Expect more multi-way pots as the cannon gets more desperate.
And Joe, adios. The flop, 7 tray 10. Galfond is best. And checks. Given checks. Doyle checks.
Scott Seiver has a pair, and he's in position. And he's Scott Seiver.
That's 3,600.
Phil might like his 7 enough to call here, just not enough to lead out with it.
Galfond does call. Given folds. So does Doyle.
With just 1 pair apiece, these guys are a lot more comfortable playing heads up.
King of Hearts on the turn gives Galfond a flush draw. He checks.
Seiver could fire again here or slow down since the king is another overcard and put some more draws out there.
Seiver checks. Queen of clubs on the river.
I don't think either player can bet his hand for value at this point.
Action on Galfond. He checks. Seiver checks.
7.
Scott's probably realizing he could have gotten Galfond to fold.
That was your chance, Scott.
Yeah.
No, it wasn't. No, it wasn't.
Well,
How much I can do when the deck just sets me up with cooler after cooler.
So that winning pot of nearly 13 grand brings a smile to Phil Galfond's face.
And OMG, if it seems like Phil Galfond is playing a lot of pots, it's because he is. His VPIP shows us that he's jumping in nearly half the time. He's the table leader in all of these stats, though when it comes to profit, he's still way behind.
It'll be interesting to see how his table image serves him as the week progresses.
Sorry, was it 10-3 again?
As this hand moves on, action on Joe Hachem, who has returned.
Said was the same?
no, it's both
Folds.
times. I'm raising just here. 1,200 bucks.
Daniel raises. Galfond, suited connectors. Calls.
Wait, that's the call. Where's the 3-bet though?
He doesn't need to every time.
Yeah, if I do it twice in a row, he's going to know
I'm gonna get angry with him. I'll be upset with him. We won't be friends.
Now Doyle's gonna win the hand because of you.
The cannon folded. Doyle called. 8-4 suited for Seiver.
Now I'm gonna win the hand because of you.
Calls.
Seiver is confident enough in his game that he can make a loose call like this out of position and outplay the table post-flop.
Deuce 6-10, Brunson the nut flush draw. Checks. Seiver checks.
Daniel has the best hand.
And checks. Galfond checks. 10 of diamonds on the turn gives Doyle a flush.
It may be tough for him to get action since the only real draw at this point is a gut shot.
He fires 4,000. Seiver folds. Daniel 2.
You're right. That was my fault.
Yeah.
Let Doyle win.
Galfond's out.
Had a good hand.
And Doyle wins.
I had a very good hand, so I didn't re-raise.
Better hand than you.
The legend's now up nearly 11 grand.
I was suited. They were close together.
It was to have been diamond.
Plenty more big game action when we return. Welcome back. This week, Scott Seiver and Daniel Negreanu have been reunited, and it feels so good.
Scott Seiver is one of those guys that it's just a pain in your neck if he's on your left, because he's playing a lot of pots and he's playing all kinds of hands, and he's there to just re-raise you and float and do all kinds of stuff. So, you know, when I'm playing with Scott Seiver, I always want him directly on my right, so maybe I can contain him just a little bit.
I'm definitely looking forward to playing Daniel again. I think he's looking forward to playing with me as well. After the last time we played here on the big game, I think he's really ready to get back in there versus me, and I'm looking forward to the challenge a bit.
Well, the first time we played, you know, he just abused me. Scott Seiver. You make it tough to play this game.
Why don't you sit the next few plays out?
Yeah, you know, he outplayed me in a few spots, and position is power, and a guy like that having position on you is just difficult. So he really just handcuffed me because I felt like I had to sort of be a little more careful and not get out there as much because he was never going to let me go. You know, he was on there just boom, 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 nonstop. I will say that probably the most annoying pose I've ever seen in a poker game is the following. It just drives me up the wall. Scott, what are you doing, man?
A lot of people have made fun of me for it. Mostly Daniel, to be honest. He seemed to be really bothered by it, but I think honestly just because he wasn't able to get a read on me and that it was frustrating him. So to me, that's a good thing.
To be fair, I found out later that when he strikes that pose, Scott also emits a high-pitched noise that only Daniel can hear.
Action on Doyle. Folds. Queen 9 of spades for Seiver. Yet to strike the pose, really, this week.
He seems to have modified it, made it a little more normal.
Yeah, like a new batting stance. Seiver raises. Hachem with King 9 suited.
What's the saying? You've got to give action to get action. Is that right, Daniel?
That's correct.
Hachem calls.
Little known fact, that phrase was coined by Shakespeare. Right after to raise or not to raise. Which is what Daniel's thinking right now.
Don't go doing anything silly now, all
It's
right?
too late. I'm already done it. I'm already doing it.
Tell me how before I throw my money out there. I hope you wake up with aces, Bill.
So does he.
Daniel does have position on these guys.
Re-raises.
So not fun, Daniel.
Galfond folds.
Punish him, Bill.
I wish I had something half decent. I'd go for it, but I don't.
Cannon folds. Seiver calls.
Can't do it.
What's the saying?
Got to fold when you know you're behind.
Also Shakespeare. Hachem just fell victim to the squeeze.
Heads up to the flop. 8-10-9. Seiver checks middle pair.
More of Scott Seiver outflopping Daniel. And to be fair, Queen 9 is a hand that flops better than Ace 6.
Daniel checks his gut shot. 5 of diamonds on the turn. Seiver checks.
Negreanu with only Ace high.
And checks. 3 of hearts on the river.
After being checked the whole way, it looks like Scott is confident enough in his 9.
Bets 8,800.
There's not a lot of hands I can beat. I can beat precisely King, Queen. And King, yeah, King, Queen, I can beat that. Show me a King or a Queen.
But not King Jack.
You don't have King Jack. You have,
I have pocket 8s.
That wins too. I'm not gonna call you, but.
Daniel folds.
I can beat King, Queen. Or King 7, or who knows with Scott.
You ruined the whole party.
I did. Did you hit that flop?
Yeah, I was getting in there, you know.
Sorry.
Ruined the whole party.
I'd have given action.
I had an ace in my hand.
You had action hand?
I don't think I'd have had the winning hand, but I had the action hand.
You had the action hand,
I had
right.
the action hand.
Oh, and the river, you didn't have the winning hand?
I had the action hand.
So what did you make? You missed everything? You had king high?
King jack of clubs.
I missed everything. I had it all. Check raising every street.
See, that's what I was worried about. I still think if I bet, I was going to lose. I think if I bet any street, I was going to lose anyway.
Pretty ugly flop for me anyway.
Pretty ugly flop, period.
If he had stuck around the whole way, Joe Hachem would have been the eventual winner.
Deuces for Seiver. Raises. Hachem folds. King Jack for Daniel. Repops from the cutoff.
These aren't typical re-raising hands from Daniel, but since he's got position on Scott, he wants to make sure he's the aggressor.
Galfond folds over to the cannon, who's out. Same with Doyle.
What's that saying?
This time Scott must be thinking of deuces never loses.
Heads up to the flop again between these two. 8, queen, 7. Seiver checks, still best.
Daniel's missed pretty hard. He's only got pair outs. Let's see if he wants to keep that lead.
He does, betting 6,000.
You got a queen?
Do I have a queen? No.
Promise?
No. I can't promise you that.
I promise you, Seiver calls.
Do you have a queen?
Yes.
He says yes.
4 on the turn.
So matter-of-factly.
Seiver checks.
Well, I can't beat a queen.
Daniel checks. 10 of diamonds on the river.
There's that new and improved pose.
Seiver checks.
Well, I'm in big trouble here. I'm going to check.
Seiver shows.
Oh, that's good. Yes. What a liar.
Well, I thought a queen just meant representing the best hand. I thought it was, like an allegory, I think is the word. Like,
I dropped out of college, I don't know.
Somebody read Lord of the Flies of Brown.
the question is really, do you have a good hand? And I was answering honestly, yeah, I got the best hand.
The question is, will Scott Seiver continue to get the best of Daniel? Find out when we come back to Las Vegas and the big game. Welcome back to Las Vegas and the big game, where our loose cannon Bill Given is stuck over 65 grand from the original 100,000 he was staked.
And Bill only gets to keep any profits he wins over that 100K buy-in. He needs to find a way to double up and get back in the hunt.
Action folds around to Galfond. Raises with 9 high. Suited one gapper for the cannon. Calls on the button. Big slick for poker royalty.
14.
Calls. Seiver. 9-5 suited.
Scott managed to make this hand pretty profitable last time he played on the show.
Calls as well. What happened to 9-5 being rags?
Everybody wants to play against the cannon right now.
You have Bill still about 30, 35 in there?
I think right around there.
Galfond just wants to know how much he'll be adding to his stack.
Queen 8-8. Brunson still best. It goes check, check over to Galfond.
Phil had the pre-flop lead.
And checks.
Opts to give it up.
Given checks as well.
Guess Given's done bluffing on a paired board.
And now Given has a pair after the 4 hits on the turn. Check, check to Galfond again. Checks.
36.
Given bets 3,600.
He's got a pair. It's been checked around twice. I like it.
Doyle folds. Seiver's out.
These guys know Given will be desperate soon. And since Phil's only got 9 high, he's trying to figure out if Given would fold to a raise, but this bet is for more than 10% of his remaining stack.
Galfond folds. So Given starts working his way back.
Even that small win has got to make Bill Given feel a little better, but he's still more than a double up away from being even.
Of course, the cannon bluffed off most of his chips earlier tonight to Daniel Negreanu, who starts this hand. Looking at Jack 8 and folding. Ace King for Galfond. Raises. Suited connectors for Given. Calls.
Given's playing loose, but he needs to add a little bit more aggression. If you're going to hit your hand, you want as much money in there as possible.
Ace-10 for Seiver in the small blind calls. Hachem, ace-9 suited, also in.
Go get him, Cannon. Shoots, he scores. Shoots, he scores. One time.
Hockey, 7-8-5. Seiver checks. Hachem checks a gut shot.
The loose cannon flopped the best hand, but Phil Galfond has got a lot of equity with 2 overs in the nut flush draw.
And he bets 3,700. Given, bottom pair, and a gut shot. Folds.
This is the second time since his big bluff he's called a raise in position and folded when he hit a pair.
Speaking of fold, that's what Seiver did. Now back to Hachem.
Hachem looks like he doesn't believe that Phil hit this flop. But we know there's not much he can do to get Galfond off this hand.
Why'd you stop riffling once I went for my chips?
What's that?
Why'd you stop riffling once I went for my chips?
Probably a tell. I didn't notice I did it.
Hachem calls.
Now it's on national television.
Hey, this show's international, buddy.
4 of hearts on the turn. Given would have turned 2 pair. Hachem checks. Galfond still best.
It is a 4-card straight board.
Checks. Jack of diamonds on the river. Hachem checks.
Hachem picked up on what he thought was a tell. I'm surprised to see him check it down after that. Phil's got the best hand, but probably not the best spot for a value bet.
Okay.
Phil checks.
Ace high.
Oh, me too. I win, I think.
Yeah, you win. Oh, wow. Wow, nice hand.
The Aussie slow roll. Right back
Yeah,
at
we're
him.
even now, all right?
Time for a cash count. Joe and Daniel are almost even in terms of profit. Both are up around 40 grand.
While Doyle is up over 7 dimes and Scott Seiver is up over 6.
Phil Galfond is stuck 32,000 while our loose cannon Bill Given is getting crushed. He is down nearly 63,000 bucks.
All right, guys, that was the last hand of the night. Bill, rough show. You still have hope?
It has been a rough show. I do have hope, though. I think I can double up a couple times, and we'll see what happens. I'll have fun trying if it doesn't work out, so we'll see.
I hope it works out for you. Daniel, Joe, you guys are up. You're doing well.
We're doing okay.
Give me this mean look like I did something bad to him.
To him?
I did nothing. So
Nothing personal.
I'm always pulling for the loose cannon.
I know you are.
All right, that's it for tonight. I'm Amanda Leatherman saying goodbye for now. And remember, if you've got the cash and the guts, there's always a seat open at the big game. Good night, everybody.
For Joe Stapleton, I'm Chris Rose. We'll see you tomorrow night.
Hey, Scott.
Hello.
How's Scott doing? Is he winning?
You keep picking on him.
I'm picking on him. He wins every pot I play with him. I re-raise and then check, 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 and then he just wins.
Such a bully.
Doyle, are you just waiting to get started? Come on.
Got it in high gear.
The preceding was a presentation from PokerStars.com.